Well, good morning, all. Feels kind of weird starting a video in here. Well, the weatherman's telling me in a couple hours it's going to start raining. So I thought today would be a good day to clean up our concentrates from last year. Now the concentrates we got are from when I'm up in the mountains. That time up there I consider very valuable. So I don't want to spend it cleaning up my gold up there. What I do is I will pan it down to the gold and a little bit of black sand. Then I suck everything up with a snuffer bottle and get back to work. Now when I get home, I'll take that material, dry it out, and then we will run everything through a 50 mesh screen. What goes through that screen goes directly into the concentrate bucket. We don't mess with it at all. What stays on top of that screen, I will go ahead and further process that and clean it up. And that's the gold that we weigh in at the end of each video. And the material that's left over from that process, that also goes back into the concentrate bucket. Well, today we're going to go ahead and clean that concentrate bucket up. Okay, now the first part of the process is we'll run everything through a 20 mesh screen. And the reason I do this, there's two reasons. Number one is a lot of times I will go out prospecting and I didn't shoot a video that day and I'm in a hurry and I don't have that much gold, so I just throw everything in the bucket. So there should be a few larger pieces in there. And secondly, we want to take that larger material and break it down a little bit more. So what do you say we jump over on the bench over here and get started? Okay, basically we're gonna screen all our material through just a 20 mesh. And what stays on top of the 20 mesh, we'll, depending on how much material we have, we'll either take it outside and run it through the crusher, or we'll hit it with the mortar and pestle. This is all we ended up with, and I don't know how well it's showing it, but there's quite a bit of gold in here. So we're going to clean this up a little bit better. First thing we'll do is go over it with our magnet and get all the iron out and magnetic material. Now in a situation like this, where we have a lot of little round lead BBs, you can take and tilt your pan up and just tap on the end and all your lead BBs will roll to the bottom and your gold will be walking towards the top. A quick way to get rid of the lead. Okay, now once I have all the lead out of the way, I'll just take and shake my pan a little bit while I blow on it. And that will blow the lighter material away from the gold and just make it that much easier to pick the gold out. Okay, ready to pick the gold out. Now, you can see right there, we got our gold lined up along on the top. Right here is the gold we got out of there. And there is one piece in here that real close to a picker. Nice little round heavy piece. Now I've got everything that's obviously gold out of here. There's a few pieces in here that I'm not sure if they're dirty gold, if they're, if they're lead. I will leave those in here because this is going to get further processed. Now I'll take the magnetic stuff, dump it in there, and since we got such a small quantity, we're just going to run it through the mortar and pestle, bust it up a little bit, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, we got our mortar and pedestal here, and this mortar and pedestal, I found this in a tailings pit metal detecting years ago, and I broke one of the cardinal rules. I took it and sandblasted it and cleaned it up, which you're not supposed to do with your old antiques, but I wanted to use it, so I cleaned her up. Okay, we're going to take our material, dump it in here. Now, what we're doing is sometimes you will have gold that's encased in conglomerate or encased in the rust or just attached to another rock. And basically what we're going to do here is just try to break everything up. We're not going to turn it into powder. We just want to break it up and get the free gold loose. So we'll just take and just work it for a while. Okay, well that looks like we got it pretty good. Now you can see that we've turned this much finer than it was before. Now what we'll do is we'll run this through the screen again, and that way basically all we should have left in here is our lead. Okay, now we'll take the material that's left, and this is, you can see here, it's just mainly lead. Now I'm going to pick out as much of this lead as I possibly can, because from this point we're going to be putting it in the acid and it will dissolve this lead. And rather than create a more toxic liquid, I would prefer to pick the lead out, put it in with the other lead, melt it down and use it. Okay, well from this point we're heading outside. Well, I'm not so sure I believe the weatherman, because it's beautiful out here right now, but the wind is coming up and I do see a line of clouds, so there might be something to that rain. Okay, what we got going here is we got our vibrating tumbler. We got our concentrates. What we're going to do is I got a little bit of water in here. Pour the concentrates in there. Make sure there's enough water to cover them. Then we're going to add a little bit of nitric acid. And the reason we put the nitric acid in there, and not a lot, but just a little bit, is mainly to help clean everything, and because you want the gold nice and polished. So we're going to run this for a couple hours. Then we'll pour everything off, and then put clean water in, turn it on for 15-20 minutes. If the water's still clean, then we know we got everything pretty much cleaned up and we can move to the next step. Okay, well I'm going to turn this one on, and I'll see you back here in a couple hours. Okay, well this has been running a couple hours now, so we're going to shut her down, take a look, see how things are looking in there. Okay, you can see what started out, nice clean water, pretty dirty right now. So we're going to take this, clean it up, and then we'll run it a little bit longer. Okay, you can see here the water is just a little bit dirty, but not bad at all. Okay, now that she's pretty much cleaned up, the next step is to dump a little bit of mercury in there. And it doesn't take much. I'm guessing we're dumping in half a teaspoon. Doesn't take a whole lot of mercury. Okay, now, next step, turn this on, let it run for another hour. That way everything can move around, and that mercury needs to come into contact with all the particles of gold to gather them all up. Okay, we'll be back in an hour. Been a little over an hour now, and yes, it has started to rain. and it got cold fast out here. So we're gonna make this quick. We got our material out of our tumbler into the pan. We got our tub with a little bit of soap in it, and we're gonna pan this out. And now that the mercury has picked up all the fine particles of gold, the panning goes a lot quicker. Okay, well, I'm gonna pan this out. Okay, well, we got that panned out. I'll tell you what, it's cold and raining out there now. Hey, well, jump over here on the bench and I'll show you what we ended up with our ball of amalgam. Okay, here we have our ball of amalgam and mercury. Okay, well, I'm going to take that outside under the carport, put some acid on it, and it's pretty much going to have to sit all night because the colder it is, the longer it takes the nitric acid to put the mercury into solution. So it'll probably have to sit all night, so we'll probably continue this tomorrow morning. Well, it's bright and early the next morning. Just went out and checked, and I think it's done. Let me show you. So you can see here the clump of amalgam is gone, but it's kind of a dingy color. Well, we're going to get it out of the solution, and we'll change that real shortly. Okay, well, that's looking a lot better. Now I'll take and dry it out, and then we'll weigh it. Okay, time for the weigh-in. Here's our bigger stuff. Yep, let's switch her over to grams. Okay, 0.48. And then here's all our fine stuff full. Clean and dry. Try to keep these separate. And we ended up with 4.35 grams. Well, it might be a cold, rainy day out there, but I got gold, so I'm a happy camper. Now, if you're interested in the procedure that I use, recovering the gold with the mercury, I have a in-depth video, and I'll link it in the description below, that covers exactly how I do it and all the safety procedures and everything else, because if you don't do it right, it can be dangerous. Okay, well, other than that, I've got a heck of a mess to clean up, so I'm out of here. You guys have a wonderful day.